Hi everyone, welcome back to the Scrapbooking Photographer. Linda's my name. Thanks very much for stopping by. Today I'm working with other creatives in the Ironcraft Challenge hosted by Peacecraft Love Clubhouse. Each month the Ironcraft Challenge we are given a component to use from our stash that we perhaps don't often use in our layouts. This month we've been given the challenge to use fabric. So the fabric I've decided to use is leftover from a skirt I made at the end of lockdown in 2021. So we had the major lockdowns in 2020 that everybody suffered, and then there was a few odd little extra ones in different parts of the country. We had been invited to a friend's son's wedding, which we were looking forward to because, as you know, with lockdowns, there wasn't a lot of going out, let alone getting dressed up. So I wanted to wear a skirt and I didn't have one that I liked or that was current enough, so I decided to make one. I had the material posted to me from our fabric store so that I didn't have to go out and get it, and made it with my mother in mind, as she had shown me how to cut a semicircular skirt without a pattern. So so that's what I came up with. And these are the photos that our son took of us just before we left. And he was here looking after our dogs for us so we could go out for the evening without having to worry about them. So that was good. Anyway, so very pink. And I just still love the material in this skirt. So what I'm going to use today are an embossing folder and these three colours to start with. I don't really have an idea how it's going to finish up, so let's get started and see what we end up with. When I went to get these photos printed, I noticed that I couldn't actually crop them to a 6x4 without either chopping off our feet or our heads. So what I did is add a little bit on the outside and just had them printed as 6x4s because that's the easiest thing to do. And then I'm just going to go through and trim that extra strip off. So we'll end up with three quite narrow tall photos, and some silly faces were being pulled while these photos were taken, but we have got a couple of nice ones as well. A little bit more of that one. My background piece is going to be a piece of ballerina, which is a light pink on one side, slightly darker on the other, but I'm actually going to use the lighter side this time. And I'm going to mount these photos just in a straight line, probably with our silly one in the middle, like that. So I'm just going to mount them on a strip that's going to cross there. And I'm going to use this mulberry colour, which blends quite well with the fabric, as you can tell. So I'm just going to pop these on here and then trim that. Apologies for the background noise in the beginning of this video. The dishwasher was being emptied at the same time as I was talking, so I didn't realise it was quite as loud as that. But anyway, I'll speed this little bit up because you don't need to see me sticking photos onto cardstock. The narrower photos actually fit quite nicely across the page and will give us just a nice little border around the outside of the mulberry and sit nice and tidily within the 12 inches of the ballerina, like so. So we'll bring in the material and I'm going to cut a swatch out of it. What I want to do is have some up the top and some below the photos. But what I'm going to do is cut a piece, here it is, and I'm going to attach that to a piece of white daisy. So using some old school glue that I had, which says it sticks fabric, I just put that on there so I can adhere the material to it, and that also helps to get rid of some of the creases that were in it from being stuck in a drawer for a few years. So I'll smooth that down and just put it to one side to dry. What I'm going to do is emboss it. This is the one that I did before to see if it was worth doing. And hopefully you can see on camera the shape of the embossing folder, which just brings in a little extra dimension. And to highlight the darker colour in the material, I'm going to cut a couple of strips of this old eggplant paper, which matched really well, and just run it down either side of where the fabric's going to go. Using the mat, I can make sure that it's straight, so long as the background's straight on the mat, of course, and line those two up from bottom to top. And the same with the second strip, the right distance apart, so that the fabric's going to fit nicely over the top of both of them and cover that pink strip down the middle. Now I have this embossing folder from Close to My Heart, which has roses on it, which blends well with the material. So inside I'm placing the fabric that is stuck to the white daisy, and then winding it through the Cuttlebug just to emboss the fabric, and that works better if it's stuck onto cardstock first. It's still a little bit wet at this stage, but hopefully you can see the dimension that that's added. Now it's just a matter of tidying up these raggedy ends with the scissors, and I'll do that from the back side, mainly because it's easier to see when the edge of the back cardstock is on this side. And you can see the embossing that's come through onto the cardstock, so it will be there on the material as well. So it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of fraying, and that's all good, adds to the look, but I don't want too much flimsy material, because the texture does change for the loose material away from the cardstock. So just trying to even it up and make it the kind of the same all the way. So popping that on the top part, and then the other piece I'll clear up as well and put that on the bottom. And there we have our strip of fabric that has been adhered to the white daisy cardstock and then put through the embossing machine to add that extra little bit of texture. Now there is a join in the middle, obviously, so but that doesn't matter because it will be covered by the strip of pictures that we put together before. So I'll bring them in, and I'll stick those down as well. For the title, I chose to cut it out on the Cricut, and I've decided to go with All Dressed Up. So I've gone ahead and stuck all that together so it's ready to put in here. And I'm just going to use a little bit of mulberry, which matches the cardstock, to put a few little splodges behind where the title's going, just to give the words somewhere to land. And I'll also put a little bit of mulberry splodge down on the bottom right hand side, where I'm going to put a rose that I've also made on the Cricut. So I can stick these titles down now, and I've got them facing this way and tilted towards the middle, because this is going to be the left hand side of the album, and the right hand page will be the wedding invitation with the details of what we were doing on the day. So here's the rose down the bottom, and I just decide I think I need a little bit of green behind it as well. So I'll grab the sage and just put a little, using the same stamp, obviously cleaned it, and just put a splodge down there as well. And I quite like the way that brings in the green from the fabric as well, and just kind of balance things out a little bit. As you can see, the flower wasn't stuck together, so I have attached the top half to the bottom half and popped that in space. So then I need to use some embellishments, and I happen to have these little mulberry coloured hearts and
circles, etc. from Close to My Heart, which is, they're great packets. They come with 3 different tones and in 3 different shapes in them as well. So lots of options within the packet. So I'm just putting 3 little hearts and 3 little dots up the top there in those little gaps, and then I can do some journaling. So I'll just write a few things in here about the date and where we were going and what we were doing. But while I'm doing that, I'd just like to thank you very much for watching this video today, and to remind you to check out the other creatives in this hop. There will be a list of them underneath the description of this video, so you can follow from one to the other and see the other ideas that have come out of using fabric in your layouts. It's not something that I do a lot of, but I have done it a couple of times, and I really enjoyed this project, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. Thanks very much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the video that I've put together, and I hope you enjoy the other videos in the hop as well. If you've already subscribed to my channel, thank you very much. If you haven't, any new subscriptions are very much appreciated. I'll pop some close-ups in of the page for you to have a look at. But once again, thank you very much for watching.